What's up guys, it's Jimmy, and did you know that there is actually a secret luck stat in Minecraft? You can only get it by using cheats, and it doesn't even guarantee better items from chests. All it does is increase the amount of treasure that you get from fishing. So that isn't really helpful, but guys, what if I told you it might actually be easier to maximize your luck in the real world? That's right guys, today I'm going to talk about how you, as a person, can maximize your luck. I just went ahead and I trimmed my garden of 4-leaf clovers, you know. Nah, I'm just kidding. We aren't going to talk about clovers or rabbit feet or anything else. We'll be talking about the things that you can do to become luckier in your own life. Now, before I get into the real points of the video, I kind of just want to get some stuff out of the way that you might be wondering about. First of all, no, this video is not about gambling. It will not give you the secrets on how to win on the slot machine every time, or guarantee a knife from a case on Counter-Strike. This is a video about maximizing your luck, not your wealth and fortune. Second, if your first thought is, well, actually, luck isn't even real, everything is just probability and none of it matters, then maybe this video isn't for you. The boring stuff is that way. Anyways, guys, let's go ahead and start digging into the real meat and potatoes here. Now, for this video, I did do some pretty extensive research. I watched a lot of videos and I read articles and subreddits, things like that. I even talked to a few people in the real world about their thoughts. And what kind of surprised me about all of this was that a lot of these sources had the same kind of arguments or points in common. The so-called quote-unquote science of luck has been studied before, or at least people have tried to sort of find some explanation for why lucky people are so lucky and unlucky people aren't. Now, I don't really know the full credibility of this kind of research, you know, it's definitely a hard thing to measure, so maybe take it with a grain of salt. But my favorite source that I found was the video How to Maximize Your Real Life RNG, or Luck, by How To Not. This video is pretty concise while also explaining many of the main points that I'm seeing. So I'm going to kind of use this video as sort of a guideline here while I explain how we can become luckier. The very first thing that you must understand before you become luckier is that we're really looking for opportunities or encounters that can add favorable things into our life. We also want to be aware of the opposite, things that present themselves to us that we'd rather not engage with. And that kind of goes with trusting your gut, I suppose. I think that's a very good piece of advice in general. But however, none of these things will occur if you stay inside in your comfort zone. Now, it's not a bad thing to want to be comfy and at home, you know, we all need it, but you just can't expect too much to come your way when you're staying isolated. You can expect the usual to come your way, but probably not anything new or exciting. So you need to get out of the house first. Maybe pick like a vague objective like going to the grocery store or the bank or like the library or something. And then on your way to that vague objective, you want to be on the lookout for opportunity and capitalize on it. And you know, you could kind of treat it in a different scenario too. Like maybe your home life is chaotic or unfulfilling or enjoyable for you, so you leave the house with the intention of just getting away from that. And leaving the house in that kind of situation, you might be recognized, or you might end up facing clarity in your mind about how to better navigate that situation or make it a little easier on yourself. Stuff you wouldn't think about if you didn't leave in the first place. But for us to fully understand how to capitalize on an opportunity, there's something else we need to understand first, and that is going to be where we start talking about your mindset. Now, in that video that I mentioned, he talks about the self-fulfilling prophecy, which basically explains why some are luckier than others, or at least kind of attempts to. Basically, people who will recognize when they are lucky tend to just be considered luckier as a result. They usually feel more excited about little things or joyous things in life, and they don't focus too harshly on the negative. It's not to say that they're never unlucky or they're always happy, but they might just kind of, you know, work around it differently than someone who might consider themselves to be unlucky. People who consider themselves to be truly unlucky are probably going to stay that way. If you keep affirming to yourself and others that you are indeed unlucky, nothing will really change because you are only strengthening that sort of beast inside of you. by trapping yourself in that mindset. I'm not saying to never admit when you feel unlucky or that you have to be super positive all the time, but just convincing yourself fully that you are unlucky is not going to improve anything. What you get from what the world presents you with actually starts in your mind. If you're expecting the world to give you crappy situations and bad luck, then you might just accidentally bring that sort of thing forward in your life. If you focus on how the world can be full of opportunity and things to understand or try, you will find that you feel much luckier in general after learning to appreciate the good. I know that this is pretty similar to the idea of like manifestation, but just hear me out still. The truly hard part is that the good things can often feel small or maybe insignificant compared to how drastic or frustrating the bad things can sometimes feel. And while I do like sympathize with this, like I've been there, I think the sort of counter to this is to recognize that you have any good in the first place. Even if it does feel smaller than the bad, it's still better than none at all. And now I want to kind of bring this back to being open minded. When you go out of the house, you have no idea what kind of opportunities or encounters will present themselves to you, if any. Life is not a video game with a wiki where you can find the exact percentage of meeting your soulmate at the grocery store. We have no way to know if that thrift store you're thinking about going into is going to have an absolute grail inside of it unless we allow ourselves the opportunity to go and check it out. You still with me? So let's go ahead and bring it back to capitalizing on opportunity. I'll give an example here. Say you're biking somewhere, like I don't know, maybe you have plans to go across town to play soccer at a park or something like that, and on your way there, your tire pops and you're just like, dude, of course this would happen to me. Like, this sucks. And you start getting upset and mad. And now I've been there when that kind of thing happens. Like, it's so easy to get frustrated and annoyed with it. And it's incredibly difficult to not get those feelings. But at the end of the day, getting really upset and angry over this is not going to help you. Now, I'm not saying like just forget about it and be all smiles. You know, you can be a little annoyed if you want. But the sooner you just decide to start looking more towards any sort of positive aspect, even if just a little, you'll find that it becomes easier to navigate these kinds of hardships. So, like in this example, maybe you walk your bike over to the nearest bike shop or whatever, and then you explain the situation to this guy. You're like, yeah, my tire popped. I'm so late for this thing, whatever. But the guy who's gonna fix your bike ends up being super cool and talks to you. You know, you guys like kind of hit it off. He's a cool dude. He likes you. Maybe he even gives you like a discount or something like that. Nice. Now you're back on the road wherever you were gonna go originally. Now, was the fact that you got that positive interaction with the bike repair guy gonna outweigh the fact that your bike tire popped in the first place? I mean, you could argue no because you had to spend time away from your initial goal, but like, did you get something out of it? Well, I don't know. That's kind of up to you and how you would perceive that situation. What you kind of weigh the good against the bad, you know what I mean? Like, you might think it's lucky because, like, even though your tire popped and you were late, you had to get your tire replaced anyway soon, so at least this guy was nice enough to give you a discount. And not only do you want to keep an open mind for these kinds of situations, but you want to keep your eyes peeled, like literally, like look for opportunity, you know? Things like flyers for events that you might want to go to, job opportunities in a window, or a sale at some store that you like going to. Like literally be looking for things that you can capitalize on and, you know, increase your luck that way. Now, if you've made it this far into the video, then I have to be honest with you. I've been kind of tricking you here. I'm sorry, but I'm not really telling you how you can truly become luckier. You know, I've kind of just really explained to you how to shift into the mindset of someone who is lucky, which is a positive and healthy mindset. I know that this can kind of sound like a cop out here, but you know, luck is genuinely something that is kind of uncontrollable. There is no way that I can help you increase the odds of a $20 bill landing at your feet right when you need it. But you can allow yourself to experience more chances and opportunities where something like that could actually end up happening to you. You never know. If you take everything I've talked about so far and you apply it to your life, which it might not be noticeable right away, but you will eventually start to feel luckier if you change your worldview into kind of what a lucky person might think. You'll be acknowledging all the times when you are in fact lucky, those little pleasures in life that you kind of don't expect most of the time. When you can recognize those and be grateful for them while also making the most out of your maybe not so fortunate circumstances sometimes, and recognizing the good in those situations, I feel like that is when you can truly feel lucky. If any of this resonated with you, then I'm really glad. If it didn't and you kind of find yourself like maybe disagreeing with me or not quite understanding what I've said, then totally feel free to like let me know in the comments or whatever, like tell me your thoughts. I think that this is such an interesting topic, but it's a pretty tricky one to talk about. It can very easily spiral out into something else. And I wouldn't really mind maybe revisiting this sometime in the future, but for now, this has kind of been enough for me to talk about with luck. It's kind of been giving me a headache trying to figure out the best way to say everything. But anyways, that's going to be it for me, guys. Thank you for watching. Later.